We saw Watchmen.
Yep.
Chug with us.
I'm not done.
I am. Directed by Zack Snyder.
Yep.
He also did the Dawn of the Dead remake
Mm-hmm.
and 300. If you didn't notice, they both looked really good. Written by David Hayter. He wrote X-Men 2
And X-Men 1.
and X-Men 1 and the Scorpion King. This movie is starring boobies. I mean, Maylene. She likes to show her boobs in movies.
I'd say 3 out of the 4 movies I've seen her in, she shows her boobs. So it's expected.
Yeah. She is obviously very comfortable with her body, and why wouldn't she be?
I'm comfortable with her body.
She's fit. Billy Crudup.
Yep.
Matthew Good.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie Earl Haley. Did I just say that one? Yes, I did. And Patrick Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And the original,
Graphic novel.
well, the graphic novel or the series of graphic novels.
Some series of comic books.
Yeah, comic books made into a graphic novel. Most anticipated rendition, I guess you can call it, into a movie of all time. They're advertising it like that.
Yeah, the most critically acclaimed graphic novel of all
Yes. By Alan Moore.
time. Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
He also did V for Vendetta,
Which is also amazing.
From Hell.
Also very amazing. Can't
Um,
say I thought this rendition was as good.
Ooh.
It looked amazing. When you have
Bombshell.
yes. This movie blew me away in the opening credits. I almost jizzed in my pants from how amazing just the opening credits looked. I was like, and that's like, they start it up here with what it looks like, and the anticipation was killing me on this movie, because then all that bullshit happened with the studios going to court, and didn't think it was going to come out, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't know if it's because it is a very long movie, and we saw it at midnight. I was almost falling asleep. It was late, but I could honestly probably say that it wouldn't matter what time I saw this movie, I would probably almost be falling asleep. I really wanted to love this movie, and I think because my expectations were so high, and it just didn't meet my expectations, it's so hard for me to talk about this movie because it wasn't a complete flop by any means, because it's so hard to talk about, man. Because
after it's sat there for a couple days.
It sat there for a couple days for me. Long. I don't think it needed to be that long, or it probably needed to be longer and have more of the storylines come in that would have made it make more sense. There was obviously like amazing fighting sequences.
Yeah.
There was amazing special effects. The comedy in this movie was like really funny.
I went into this movie expecting huge turnout because just from my expectations, this book is one of my favorite. It probably is my favorite book I've ever read.
I loved V for Vendetta too, though.
Yeah, and it was I started it. I think I finished it in 2 or 3 days just because I couldn't put it down, and for a long time there's been the argument of whether Watchmen can be made into a movie. They spent so many years jumping from director to director to director to writer, and they couldn't get something out of it, and they just said that you can't make this book into a movie. And for the longest time I wondered why can't you make this into a movie?
There's so many.
Yeah, I mean, like Kevin Smith said it best, is like, well, it's a comic book, it's a storyboard. You know, you have half of the battle written out there, so why can't you make it into a movie? But after seeing it and finally realizing it, you can't make it into a movie. It's such a deep story, and so many characters and their relationships to one another rely on everything that they do. It's so hard to get in depth with those characters in a 2.5-hour movie. It really is, and I agree with you.
A little bit longer than that.
Well, yeah, 2 and 45, almost 3-hour movie, and they left out so much that I thought
needed to be there. Actually,
needed to be there, especially the whole subplot with the Tales of the Black Freighter. I know they're coming out with a comic or like a cartoon version on DVD or something with it.
I think that needed to at least be spliced in a little bit, but then if once you start doing a 3-hour movie or up, half the crowd is just not going to show up because it's a task. And a movie like this in a midnight showing, you're going to see the actual crazy fanboys that are dressed up like the characters of the movie. Yep. You have to expect that. I really wish we got some of their numbers to get their reactions to the movie.
Yeah.
Just to have, like, not just
some feedback.
Some feedback from, like...
Because I knew, just from the end of the movie when everyone got up and left, I knew there was a general disappointment in the theater. I could just feel it.
Well, you just take what we saw and the reaction from the midnight showing of The Watchmen and the reaction from the midnight showing that we saw of The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And everyone cheered for like 3 minutes after that movie because it was through and through just fucking amazing.
Yeah, and I think the main difference between The Dark Knight and The Watchmen and why The Dark Knight works so well is that it took the medium of the comic book and made it into a movie. Rather than this, it took the medium of the comic book and tried to put that into a movie, tried to make a comic book on the screen, And again, I think it's just because of the characters. They're so deep. Like, if you read the book, Dr. Manhattan is a very sarcastic character. He does have those deep emotions that people don't think he has because he's no longer human. And they kind of explore that a little bit in the movie. But in the book, the things that he says to the characters are very, very sarcastic.
Yeah. Well, it's taking a different spin on the whole action hero comic book character, like, movie or anything like that, because none of them had superpowers other than Doctor Manhattan. Yeah. So, and that's completely different. It's almost like a TV show or something, like it's just people dressing up and they know how to fight, right?
It's like a soap opera in which
interesting.
The whole myth about the comic books and the superheroes is that they're immortal, they're gods and they're untouchable. But really, half of the superheroes, especially in the DC universe, don't have superpowers. And I think Alan Moore he adapted a lot of the characters from the comic books into the script, and he kind of made it like a Justice League that are pissed off at one another.
Yeah.
Because of these relationships that they have, it's kind of showing that even though they're superheroes, they're still human.
They're pretty much a touring band or something,
yeah,
like it was a touring circus act almost.
Yeah, and that they have their beefs with one another. I mean, like, just because they're superhero doesn't mean that they don't feel the same way as you or me would in any sort of relationship. And I think in this movie, they touched on that just a little bit, but I think it should have been more in depth. And I agree with you because I left the movie, even though I read the book and I understand the story, I left the movie a little bit confused because they did leave a lot of key parts out. Okay, well, I'm gonna give it 2.5 bottles. And I didn't think I would give it 2.5 bottles. I think it would have been up there with 4 or 5 bottles, but I was very, very disappointed. And this isn't like how I was disappointed with Choke in that I thought it wasn't good enough. Watchmen, I just don't think it works as a movie. It just doesn't. And after seeing the movie, I still don't think it works as a movie.
Visually, it has to give it a lot more for me. Mm-hmm. It's only getting 3 bottles for me. It has to get at least that extra half bottle just because that opening sequence almost made me want to jerk off in the theater.
The other?
Oh, yeah, no.
Well, that's our take on it. I hope you guys don't hate us for it. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there
that disagree with us wholeheartedly and other people that
feel the same.
Feel the same, or even worse than we felt.
But yeah, this is...
Definitely get the form going on this review, and tell us exactly how much you hate us for our review on this, but we're just being honest.
Yeah.
Sorry. Love everyone that watches the show.
Cheers.